Hey guys, in this episode I'm going to show you how to change the color of anything in Photoshop. Hey guys, welcome to Kelvin Designs. My name is Kelvin and I design, and that's why it's called Kelvin Designs. Click right here to subscribe to my YouTube channel, get all these episodes as they come out, and click down here to subscribe to my newsletter and get all the raw files to all these tutorials for free. In this episode I'm going to show you how to change the color of anything in Photoshop. I'm going to start with this photo right here, and then I'm going to transform it to this, and then do another one in these colors right here. It's really simple, it's really fast. Let me show you.
All right, so let's get started. To start, actually, I recommend you go to my website, kelvindesigns.com, and then click here at the top, free lessons, and you'll find the lesson that we're talking about right here. It's not here because I'm recording it, but once you find a lesson, click here, and you'll find a big button here that says download source files. So if you've created a free account with me, you just go to this page once you've logged in, and you can download the files. And if you have not, you can create an account for free. All right, so once you've downloaded the files, you'll get this folder here, episode 24 source files, and this flower girl JPEG. So go ahead and open this in Photoshop. Here we go. Let's just close this for a second. And to make things a little cleaner, we're just going to go into application frame. That way we're not distracted by anything else. All right, and we're in the essentials view. If you have a different view, just click on essentials, and if it still doesn't look the same, hit reset essentials, and there you go. All right, I don't need the libraries. I'm going to go to the adjustments here. All right, so the first thing we're going to do to change color of anything is you need to have selections. So I have a full tutorial that you can find actually on my site. Let me show you really quick. If you're looking for a tutorial on selecting, this right here, how to cut out hair, shows you really good methods of selection. So that's a good tutorial for that. We're just going to go over the simple selection. It's not nearly as detailed as that other tutorial, but we need to make selections to change color. So the first thing I'm going to do is take the magic brush tool here, the quick selection tool, and we're going to select the dress and the flowers and the background. So let's start with the background. That's probably the simplest. Now, sometimes it's good to add some contrast before doing a selection, and that is so that it's easier for the computer to find the edges. But let's do the background. So I'm just brushing here, brushing over here and over here. So it went kind of and found all the outlines. Okay, took a little bit of our cheek here, so hold down the Alt key and take this out. And we want some over here, but we can leave that for now. Take this out because our shoulder is definitely not. The hair is semi-transparent, so we can leave that. All right, once that's done, hit the Refine Edges, and it shows you right now the view mode is on black, so it's showing me the edge here. I like seeing this, the overlay view. That's kind of a nice way of looking at it. And what I'm going to do is, with this brush, which you can adjust by holding the Control and Alt to change the size of that, and the hardness, or the opacity rather, is by holding down the Alt and Control and going up and down. Left and right changes the diameter. So something like this. All right. What I want here is to basically say, look, over here in this area there is semi-transparent sections, so go figure it out. And it did. It's a little hard to tell in this mode, but let's do the black and white. You see how it kind of got a selection in there? So there you go. All right. And then here with the hair on this end over here. So it's going to figure that out. See, it's finding these little hairs. It's pretty good. Something like that. Okay. Okay, and then here I'm going to say, just find me a little soft radius. So it's edge detection. Okay, I'm just going to click that over here. Do that. I want the hairline here a little softer. Something like this. Maybe over here. Oh yeah, this cheek definitely needs a little bit of work. Something like that. Okay. All right, something like that. Okay. Maybe increase the radius a little bit, reduce it, see what it does. I like to put the smart radius on because that means it's going to not keep the same radius everywhere. It's going to basically try to find that right, that smooth part, the sweet spot. Okay, and let's hit OK, and notice there's a little selection in there that's not very nice, so I'm going to go to Quick Mask, and there's a little selection there, so I'm just going to hit the B for brush, and get the white in the front, and let's just reduce this. And I'm just going to brush that out. I don't want that selected. Okay, come out of quick mask, and that's a selection. So I'm kind of going through the selection process a little quicker. If you want to learn all about selections, like I said, go to that other tutorial on selections, and that'll explain all this in a little more detail. If you're familiar with that, then everything I'm explaining makes sense. So the first thing we're going to do is create a group and apply the mask. So I'm turning that selection into the mask, and we're going to call this BG for background. Okay. So now whatever I put in this group is going to affect only the background. And let me demonstrate. I'm going to create a curves adjustment layer and just darken it. Okay. And you see how it's just affecting the background. I actually want the background to be a little colder in this photo. So I'm taking the blue and bringing that down. So notice that my curves are upside down, and for anybody who's followed other tutorials that I've done, I explained this almost every tutorial. In the curves display options, you can do either light, in which case the dark point is on the lower left and the highlight is on the top right, or you can do pigment ink. And I come from a color separations, color correction for print backgrounds, so this is something that I'm more used to. And that's just it's the same information, it's just upside down. So that explains why when I lower it, I get more blue, less yellow, more yellow, less blue. So that's just to explain that. Okay, so something like this. I'm just trying to get the background a little colder to kind of bring her forward a little bit. Maybe it's a little too strong. I could bring my white point in a little bit. Okay, something like this. All right, so this is just to show you. I created a group, applied the mask, and then I put a curves in there. And look at that. It's just applying it to that. All right, so now let's go ahead and close that, and let's go back to the quick selection, and let's select the dress. Okay. So here we go. Oh, undo that. Command Z. I'm just going to go here to the background layer because it's trying to be affected by the by this here. All right. So go here, and there we go. That's pretty clean. Get that as well. We can go and fine tune it later, but for now, let's just do this like this. All right, we got some hair there. So now we can zoom in. So Command Alt plus, and then the space bar for the hand tool. And let's go ahead and reduce the, we're going to reduce this brush by Control and Alt, and reduce that. And I'm going to hold down the Alt key, and you notice that my brush becomes a minus. That means I want this to be out of my selection. But I do want this part. So I'm basically fine-tuning my selection. Okay, I don't want this, so hold on the Alt key. Again, this is not a tutorial on selections, but you have to go through the selection process to change colors. So we're gonna have to address that. Here, add this little bit. Let's make this even smaller and add this little bit in here as well. Okay, something like this, and then once again, hit the refine edges, and I'm gonna make this pretty small and say, okay, you know, right around here, I got some. There's a hair coming through here, so let's click on that. Okay. In fact, I can just get this whole edge. Let's see what happens there. I don't like that. Command Z. Around the hair here for sure. All right. It's trying to basically tell it to find the edge between the white dress and the hair. Okay, something like this. It's pretty good. Let's go like that. All right. And maybe this edge over here. Something like that. There you go. Okay. All right. Maybe let's just see what happens if we get this edge. Is it gonna make it yeah, it's a little smoother, a little softer here as well. Okay. We can work with that. All right. So let's hit OK. Now, once again, I mean these selections are obviously modifiable. So if I'm unhappy with the way this turns out, I can always go and change it. All right. Hit it. Make a new group. Apply mask. And this time, call it dress. All right, now let's go inside here and add a levels adjustment layer. And in this one, I want to go and take out that sort of, there's a bit of a yellow tint here. So See, I can, by taking it out here in the blue channel, see that before, after. I'm just whitening it a little bit. Let's go to the other channels and see. Got a little bit in the greens. I'm making the whites, really, so that's pretty good. All right, and see before, after. All right, I'm trying to get it a neutral color to begin with, and that's pretty good. I might want to go to my blue midtones and just reduce it. I could also just go and create a hue saturation, and so it's on top. It's another adjustment layer, and just desaturate that. See, the more I desaturate, the more black and white it gets. But the less, if you go completely, you lose a lot of detail. So you don't want to flatten it too much. Keep some of that color, something like that. Okay, so let's look at that before, after. We've turned the dress from a kind of a bit of a yellow warm color to slightly cold, maybe a little too much. Let's bring this. Let's go back to the blue here. Bring this down just a little bit, something like this. Okay. All right. And then the third thing we need is the flowers. So let's go ahead, click back on the layer, and back to the selection. Let's zoom in a little bit. Let's zoom into 100%. And here we go. We got these flowers. And selection tool. Whoops, undo that. So it's Alt and Control. Change that. And here we go. Select this, this, this. Just brushing where I want the selection. And if I want to fine tune it, I hold on the Control Alt, and that reduces the size of the brush, or adjusts it rather. And so I want this to be selected. I don't want this, so I'll hold on the Alt key. All this is fine. Maybe take that little point out. Take this bit out over here. Add this. Take that out. All right, something like this. And then refine edges. And I say, okay, make it a bit of a softer radius. Little feather on the edge. Don't want it to be too sharp, but not too soft either. Something like this. It looks pretty good. Oh, it looks like I missed a little bit here, so let's see if we can add this. That looks pretty good. Okay, maybe around here and here. That edge is pretty it's pretty obvious, so should be able to get a pretty decent selection. And maybe lower this a little bit. I don't like that edge. It's too strong over there. Hit smart edge, and should adjust it for where we're at. Let's see what happens if I brush it here. It's a little smoother, so we can go ahead and do that. Okay. All right. Once again, this is not a tutorial on selection, but you have to have a good selection to change colors. All right. And hit OK. And now I'm going to create a new folder, and we'll call this flowers. Okay, and once again I want to kind of neutralize it, so I'm going to zoom out a little bit, and we're going to create a levels here, and go to the blue channel and just kind of bring that white point in, maybe the midtones a touch, something like this. Let's see what the other channels look like. They look pretty neutral. All right. It's pretty decent. And then we can go ahead and do a hue saturation again. And so I made a little mistake. Right here, when I created, I didn't create a mask for the group. So it had applied it to the first adjustment layer. All right, so to recoup that, to get that selection, I'm going to hold down the Command key or Control on a PC. And by Command clicking on a mask, it turns that into a selection, which you see here. So once I go to the group, I can hit the mask button, and now it's applying it to the group. So what the group does, the group mask means anything within that group is going to be masked, which is what I want. And I do not want this, so I'm going to click on here, and I'm going to do disable layer mask, all right? Because I want the mask to be in the group. So I can just keep adding adjustments, and I don't have to worry about the masks. Okay, so and then we're going to select all these, holding down the Shift, all right, and then group it again, and we'll call this version 1. Okay, and so now we can see before and after. Let's take a better look here. So the original had kind of a warm cast everywhere. I mean, it's a nicely color corrected photo, and here what we did was we made the background a little colder. we neutralized the dress a little bit and the flowers. But essentially, the most important is we made our selection. So now we can go ahead and play around with the colors. So this is where the actual color correction becomes interesting. All right, so let's start. I'm going to take this version 1 and I'm going to drag it to the new layer, and we're going to call this version 2, and we're going to hide version 1. And now I'm going to go in here in the background, and for the version 1, I actually want a warm background, not a cold one. So I'm going to go and hit reset and go back to the blue and bring it up a bit. Oh, sorry, bring it down. Sorry, no, we're going to warm it up. So bring it up, and let's go to the green, see what we got. I want a little bit of that magenta in there and red. And let's just kind of, we can exaggerate this warming. Doing this with curves, not necessarily the easiest because you have to keep adjusting between those 3 colors. But it's a good habit and a good way to learn how the curves work in RGB when you're adding or subtracting colors. So knowing that blue, for example, adjusts both blue and yellow, yellow by adding in your curve of because the opposite of blue is yellow. So something like this, and that's pretty decent. I do want to increase the density or the overall darkness, so I'm just gonna bring this RGB curve up a bit. Okay, something like this. All right. And you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take another, I'm going to create a hue saturation, and I'm going to colorize, go to the orange, somewhere here, saturate this nicely, make this kind of an orange cast, somewhere around here, but I want this layer to be around 15%. Okay, so before, after, I'm basically neutralizing some of the colors. I'm getting rid of some of the different colors. So up here we have a little bit of cold, and here we have some of the green. And by bringing it in there, I'm kind of making it all one color. I could bring it up a little bit more if I want to. I'm trying to really warm up that background. Okay, something like that. And so that's what I want to do with the background. What do I want to do with the dress? Let's see. First we have a hue sat that basically neutralized everything. It did get rid of some of the details, so I'm going to get rid of this layer, this levels here that was getting rid of some of that warm. And this hue set that desaturated, I don't really need it. So let's just delete these. And I'm going to go ahead and create a hue saturation. And let's colorize this to start. And let's bring it to a blue. I want to make her dress a little blue. Saturate this a little bit. Now, granted, I start off with something that's considerably fake or unrealistic, but I need a starting point to see where I'm going to go with the color. Something like this, and then let's go to levels and just darken everything. Okay. I'm going to add a little bit in the white point, not too much. So this is the white point over here. So let's just bring it to like 2 or 3 points. See that went from 255 to 252, and the midtones more than anything. Okay, that's decent. I'm adding a lot of density so that when I colorize it, it actually becomes something because it was pretty light. I moved that density below the colorizing so that the colorizing colorizes the density. If that makes any sense. All right, go back to my hue saturation. I'm going to desaturate this a little bit, and I'm going to go ahead and there's another way to do this, which is kind of cool, which is the selective color. And I can go to my neutrals and say, this blue is nice, but I'd like it to have, so a perfect blue, or a pure blue, would be a combination of cyan and magenta. So, but this feels like it's pretty magenta heavy, so let's try add some cyan, add some magenta. So if I go really magenta, it's going to go in a purple way, which I want to kind of stay away from that. Go here. All right. And if I add yellow, it's going to desaturate that a little bit. It's going to kind of go to the turquoise feel, but it becomes a little less saturated, so that's nice. All right, and then I can go to my whites, and I say, you know what, it needs a little bit more color in the whites. Maybe a little, something like this. All right, darken it a little bit, darken my whites a little bit. Okay, so definitely giving that I've definitely turned that dress into a blue. Now notice that the edges are a little hard and it's a little, it needs a little work. All right. So here I can just go to the mask and using a brush, B for brush. Let's go with a bigger brush and let's go to the opacity up here and type in 20. So white reveals, black conceals. So white now, I'm basically, by brushing white, I'm taking the edge off of this mask. So let's make this a little smaller. Oop, undo that. And actually, in this case, it's the opposite. Black will conceal here. So I'm hiding some of the effects, right? So you see that edge, I've just softened it, and that makes that all the effects that are in that group, so higher density, hue saturation, selective color, all that is only being applied in a smooth gradient. And the whole purpose of this is to colorize something and make it look real. So it's important that it doesn't have like sudden abrupt changes, and you can tell. I mean, the whole purpose is to not be able to tell that this was photoshopped. All right, so basically go here and soften up the edges a little bit, and you'll notice that the transitions are a lot smoother. Something like this. So I went 20%, which is pretty high. I usually go a little lower than that so that I can kind of fine tune it. You can hit X to invert the colors, and that way you're brushing over. You're doing the opposite of what I was just doing. But let's go to 10 instead, just to be a little more subtle. So let's hide this and then reveal again. So basically it's really softening that edge, okay? And you can tell that the mask now is more natural. And so, all right, the color is pretty vibrant, but there's another trick that I'll show you at the end to mix that a little bit. You can go and try to get that perfect color, but the truth is, if her skin is this yellow, her dress is never going to be that blue, just because it has a totally different white point, which we'll address at the in a minute. Okay, so another thing I want to do is colorize these flowers. I think it would be nice to have like grain flowers or something. So let's go up here. I'm just going to close this, go into here. What do we have? The first one takes rid of that yellow, and then this desaturates it. You know what? Let's just go ahead and delete these for now. And I'm going to go ahead and make a new layer. It's in that group now. And I'm going to go on color mode. This layer now is in color mode. So if I take a brush, and let's say my color that I'm going to pick is a green, because that's what I want to colorize it as a green. If I paint, I'm painting. First of all, the mask is hiding it. Well, I'm only 10%, so I'm going to undo that. Go to 100%. If I paint, I'm on the green color. The mask is making sure it's only in the flowers, and the color mode is saying don't just paint green over. If I had it normal, you'll see it'll just paint green right over. And color mode basically colorizes it in that color. Granted, it's way too saturated and clearly looks fake. So I'm going to go to adjustment and hue saturation, or Command U, and I'm going to desaturate that green, right, to make it a little more realistic. Something like this, and I can play with the hue. I want it to be a little bit of a warmer green, something like that. And I also want the whole thing to be a little darker. So I'm going to go to levels, pick the midpoint, and just kind of darken it a little bit, something like this. Now this side, this darker side is much darker than this side, and I kind of want some information from this side. So I have to do this in 2 steps, and I'll create a new levels, and I'm going to darken the midtones again, except this time in the mask, I'm going to take the gradient tool, make sure it's black in the front. In the gradient tool, I want to be foreground to transparent, and I'm going to click and drag right here, and I've created a gradient in the mask, meaning I'm only affecting the left side, all right? So the black concealed, meaning it's not doing that levels on the right side, all right? So I have a little bit of information being brought up here. So I'm also gonna take the white point and bring it just a little bit because it's a little too blown out. Okay, maybe not that much. Something like this. Okay, and so that's this side. Got the overall flowers a little darker. We got the green. All right, let's go to the green again, and let's Command U to hue saturate. Let's desaturate these a little bit. They're a little strong. Let's go a little towards the yellow. Kind of want a warmer green, something like that. And you know, it'd be kind of nice to have a reminder of the blue of her dress. So hit the eyedropper tool, or hit I for eyedropper, and let's take some of this blue right here. And in this new layer that I made, hit B for brush, go here and go to color again. And I'm just going to take every other flower, make sure my brush is not too soft or not too big, something like this. And I'm just brushing, okay? But I'm on this color, I'm on this new layer that's in color mode. So it's basically just colorizing where I'm brushing, which is nice, okay? All right, so every other flower is green or blue, kind of like that. And I've done it in a way that it's pretty soft. It's a little too saturated, so I'm going to Command U and desaturate that blue a little bit. I kind of want it pastel-like. So that's pretty nice. All right, so there's some clashes in white point on this whole thing. This is way too cold for this kind of background. So one thing I do at the end to put it all together is here. Let's click on version 2. We're going to go here and do a photo filter. And in this case, let's take a warming filter, or a warming filter will work. We can try different ones, but the first one's fine. And you'll see this basically warmed up everything, background, foreground, and you notice it's basically changing the white point. If I exaggerate this, it's gonna make everything kind of flatten. So I do want to flatten it to some degree to bring all these colors together, but not too much. 38 is actually really high, but so now I've colorized it, but I've also brought them back together. So you can see the before and after. So it's a considerable change right there. All right, and let's go ahead and do another version. So we're going to drag this to the new layer and uncheck the eye there, and let's rename this to version 3, something like that. All right, and in this time, I'm going to hide the photo filter, the background. Let's start with the background again. And what do we got? We got a hue set, and we got our curves. The curves that make it darker. Let's go to the hue saturation. I want sort of a green background, but a kind of a turquoisey green. Yeah, a little more saturated, a little more blue. Yeah, not too blue, but kind of in the middle there. Something like that. I'm gonna go to my curves and see what I'm doing here. I'm gonna reset this actually. I do want it darker, and I do want a little more yellow. Do want a little bit of yellow in that back. There it is, something like that. I want a kind of a turquoise. So, because in this one I want to make her dress pink or magenta-like, but pink is, yeah. So the pink with a sort of a green, light green background would look nice, I think. All right, so I'm gonna start. Let's see what the dress does here. We got the hue saturation and we got the darkness. So I can leave the bottom one. I go to my hue saturation, and instead of be blue, I'm gonna say give it to me like this, something a little magenta, a little further to the right, and we get to the pink. So I want pink over magenta. This is a little magenta, this is a little pink. So the difference between pink and magenta is just a little more yellow and pink. So that's pretty good. I can saturate this a little bit. It's a little, I can get away with that. And that pink actually looks pretty good. Let's see what the selective color does. Selective color, I think I was pushing a little bit for the blues. So, but it does darken it nicely, which I like. You know what? I actually like that result. Maybe just turn up the magenta a little bit, just a notch, and turn down the cyan just a little bit, something like that. That's in the whites. Go to neutrals, do the same thing. Yeah, it gets a little too saturated, so I don't want to go too crazy on this. All right, but that pink dress worked like a charm, and you saw how easy it was to just modify those colors. And then for the flowers, I kind of want to leave the blue. I kind of like it. Maybe, you know what? I'm gonna go to this blue here. We should probably name this. So, blue, and this one was green, like this. So the blue, I want it to be a little more, let's go Command U for hue saturation. I want it to be a little more towards purple, so I'm going to slide this over, maybe saturate a little bit. You notice how before it was like this, and now I'm basically going from blue to purple, so I'm just going in that direction. Something like this, maybe a little more, something like that. Okay, and then the green, I want it to be pink, so I can do this in different ways. I can, again, I for eyedropper, take a pink and brush, and I'm underneath the blue layer. I'm on the green. Let's rename this to pink, and then there we go. I just brush over where that is. Okay, and it's a little too strong, so let's Command U for hue saturation. Just desaturate this just a little bit, and maybe a little more towards yellow, just to kind of get a warmer pink. And I actually like that. That's pretty clean. Okay, and once again, the photo filter to kind of bring it together. Now this is a warming filter. We can try a cooling filter this time, and it's pretty strong. Let's try this. So before and after, the cooling filter really gets rid of that yellow cast on her skin, but it does bring it together. Generally speaking, for skin tones, warming filter is nicer, but notice how that really brings the whole photo together. So it's a really useful trick on colorizing and kind of flattening that. Alright, and there you go. That's how you colorize a photo. Alright guys, I want to take a second here to talk to you about my new course called Photoshop 101. Now, I've done a lot of courses on Photoshop, and I've worked with a lot of students who have done Photoshop courses, and they often feel like they got through the course and they still don't have a grasp on some of the basics of Photoshop. So I took the time and took some of my favorite projects and put it all together, and let me show you what it looks like. Here, if you go on my site, kelvindesigns.com, click on tutorials, you'll land on this page, and you can check it out here by clicking Photoshop 101. And I want to show you some of these projects. The first one, it teaches you all the basics of layers and some basic blending modes, selection methods. It's pretty simple. Here's the before, and here's the after. And then we take another one, this photo shoot that my good friend Serge Romelli took, and I show you how to add smoke and light the cigarette, which you can see here in black and white. And we have another one here where I teach you how to use the pen tool to basically clean up this reflection and add a title. Very simple. I also show you some cool tricks using lens flares and photo filters. And in this photo, it goes over some of the technical details, but very basic and very simply explained. And then in this last project here, I basically take a bunch, it's a huge composite with different layers, different selections, and you can see the after here. You can see there's some glows and lighting effects and so on. All right, and then in this next project, basically I'm going to show you how to take these different elements that have different lighting and different effects and mix them into one. We add another title as well. See, you add smoke in the front, make sure the light that's from behind comes in the foreground as well. And then in this next project, I show you this photo, and I try to create a Ansel Adam look, which you can see here. So how to do multiple levels, and I also show you in this how to use the clone stamp tool, because there is some wires there that we get rid of. And then in this next project, I take another photo by my friend Serge, and I show you how to create tone mapping and colorizing, which you can see here. So I really give you that sort of frozen, almost poster looking look. And then in this photo, I took a photo of my son, and I show you a basic color correction for black and white, which you can see here. And then another one here, I show you a simple sky replacement, but you can see the before and after here. It looks very easy, and it actually is pretty easy, but just a few little tips and tricks, and it really shows you how to do it well. And then the last project here, we do a sky replacement, but here the trick is how to change the complete color and temperature of the photo so that it can match the sky. And you can see the before here and the after here. So he really goes through all these basics that you really need to know. It's very simple, and I really show you how to do it through examples and projects. I'm not just going to explain a bunch of stuff. It's just follow the steps, step by step, and you will learn how to use Photoshop. I guarantee it. And for a limited time, I'm offering a special discount to get this course. Click in the more info on the video below, and you'll get a code to use at checkout. I hope you enjoy it.